How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Colts film session with your favorite Colts film nerd, Zach Hicks here of horseshoehuddle.com and the Locked On Colts podcast. We are going to do one more film session on the preseason. Yes, guys, I know the preseason is behind us. We're ready for the regular season. But just because this guy made the roster, I need to do something quick on him, and that is rookie cornerback Johnathan Edwards. A little bit of background on Johnathan Edwards. He spent the majority of his college career at Indiana State Sycamores, transferred up to Tulane for his final season, was a reserve corner, more of a rotational guy there at Tulane, tested out of his mind this offseason, and ended up on the Colts and worked his way up from cornerback 8, 9, maybe 10 coming into training camp to being the cornerback 6 that has made this roster. Just an incredible story. And a player like Johnathan Edwards is what makes the preseason and makes the NFL offseason, quite frankly, my favorite aspect of football, because we get to see these Cinderella stories like Johnathan Edwards. So let's go through a couple of his clips here against Cincinnati Bengals and really talk about why a player like this was able to crack the Colts roster. And he was able to beat out players like Juju Brents and Sam Womack, who quite frankly have way more experience in the NFL, or more promise even if you're looking at Juju Brents' draft slot a couple years ago. But Edwards was able to beat these guys out, and we're going to go through a couple of these clips here against the Bengals to talk about how he was able to do that. So looking at this very first play here, we have the Bengals in the red zone. I think they're on the 4-yard line here, and Johnathan Edwards is on an island by himself against Jermaine Burton, a very talented receiver out of Alabama last year, who slipped in the draft due to off-field stuff, but very, very talented wide receiver who could have been as high as a top 50 pick if he, did everything right off the field. And Edwards is on an island here against him. And the way that you want to play this as a corner is exactly what Edwards is doing here. He is shading that inside shoulder. So if you can see, he's a little bit more inside than Jermaine Burton. And you want to shade that inside shoulder to protect against the inside release, because this receiver has a two-way go. This receiver can go outside or inside, and clearly as a corner, you want to pinch him to that corner. You want to pinch him to that outside to where he has less space to work with. It's a longer throw for a quarterback, and you want to take away that option of the inside release. So what we see here is Edwards is just sitting on that goal line. He's not giving depth. He is making sure that with all these head fakes and everything, he is staying true to that inside shoulder and making sure this receiver is breaking out. And when Burton goes for the goal line fade, Edwards does a good job of getting physical at the top of the route, getting his hands on the receiver but not getting too grabby. And then as Burton goes up for the ball, Edwards isn't jumping with him, because what he's expecting to do is, if this is a better thrown ball, as Burton's bringing that ball down, he's going to play through the ball, play through the hands, and try to dislodge for the incomplete pass. Instead, the ball is over Burton's head, and it ends up being an incompletion regardless. But again, this is just textbook coverage from a corner on an island in the red zone, where you're going to shade that inside shoulder, you're going to take away that inside release, play on top of the route, and then you're going to look to play through the hands when the ball is thrown. This is good coverage by Johnathan Edwards and everything you're looking for from a defensive back coach. Now, fast forward a little bit later in the game, we have Edwards playing off coverage here. I think the Colts are going to play a variation of quarters. They are kind of selling it a little bit pre-snap by having the safety jolt up to the line of scrimmage, but again, they're going to just kind of rotate back into quarters. Really cool little quarters variation here, because to counter the cheat motion, this safety is going to come down and go into the outside quarter zone, while this outside corner is going to shift into the middle quarter zone. So really, really cool coverage call here by the Colts to disguise this. And if you look at how Johnathan Edwards communicates on this route, is really where he shines to me, where he's staying on top of this over route, staying on top of it. He's selling to the quarterback that he's going to be turning and running with this over route. And then as that player vacates his zone and this player is coming across, he recognizes what route concept is coming his way, gets his eyes on the receiver coming to him, communicates to the linebacker and the corner on the other side to, hey, my guy's coming your way. And he's able to eat up that route there. So as the quarterback resets to throw the ball down the field, Edwards is on top of that route. There's no option for Ritter to get the ball out there, and Ritter has to take the check down, which the Colts are able to stuff for a short gain. So again, another just a coach's, this is something coaches love. The communication, the ability to just play within your assignment, stay on top of the routes, and take away those options down the field. This is how you make a team as a young player, and that's exactly what Johnathan Edwards did this training camp. So we're going to get into this next clip here, and Again, this is partially a win for the Colts because of the coverage call and because of how the Colts sell it, but also for how Johnathan Edwards works within that coverage call. So pre-snap here, Desmond Ridder is looking for the hole shot. He's expecting this to be more of a Tampa 2, cover 2, or maybe cloud coverage on this side because this corner is in press. Johnathan Edwards is in press coverage. And so he's expecting to get this hole shot. He knows that Edwards is going to displace at the line and try to get this receiver outside the numbers, and then he's trying to get that hole shot in between because he's expecting Edwards to get his head back around and come back to the flat. Now what happens here is Edwards is kind of playing a zone match type of coverage up top, where if the receiver is releasing to the outside, he's going to lock onto that route and he's going to carry vertical because this is a quarters coverage call, not Tampa 2. And if this receiver breaks inside, then we're going to just pass that player off to the linebackers, get back into your quarters, and kind of read everything in this zone. So what we see Edwards do is, again, he's on that inside shoulder. He's wanting this receiver to go outside so he can just match that guy and carry him vertical. And as the receiver tries to break outside, Edwards redirects with his inside hand, lets him push to the boundary as far as possible, and then Ridder, expecting this to be Tampa 2, is expecting Edwards to pull off here and kind of bite down on the flat, but Edwards is carrying. He's locking on that outside corner, staying on top of the route all the way. Again, one step ahead of the receiver. They're not even. You know, the saying with cornerbacks is if he's even, he's leaving. This receiver is not even. Edwards is on top of it all the way, right on him, and takes away that hole shot, and it results in a coverage sack at the bottom of the screen because, one, the coverage call of disguising Tampa 2, or disguising the quarters as Tampa 2, but also because Edwards is able to play within the system, stay on top of the route, and take the play away. So again, a young corner playing within the system and doing everything the coaches want to see. This is how you make a roster in the NFL as a young player who couldn't even start in college. He's able to be a rotational player probably here this next year in the NFL. We're looking at another coverage call here. This is going to be, I believe this is cover 1 robber that the Colts are playing, so that we're going to have locked coverage across the board here. We're going to be locking the corner, locking, and we're going to have Daniel Scott coming over to rob the middle, and then Trey Washington is going to be in the deep coverage over the top. And what we see from Edwards is, look, he's playing the outside leverage here. He's playing the outside leverage of the receiver because he knows if that receiver is breaking out, he doesn't have help outside there. So he wants to defend that outside shoulder of the receiver, stay on top of that stuff, and he knows he has help to the interior, but he has a really heady moment here where he knows he has help to the interior, but if this receiver is going to break down inside, he knows that this robbing defender is more focused on the interior route from the slot than he is on coming out to help him on the boundary. So what Edwards does is, as the receiver passes him on the inside break, he's going to try to sink down into that inside hip because he knows he has help over the top and not as much help over the middle, with Daniel Scott more so robbing this slot receiver. So what we see from Edwards is he is waiting on that throw to the sticks. He is moving with the corner as he's coming back downhill, and then he's able to make a play on the ball. He doesn't get the pass breakup technically here, but close enough from a corner. Again, just knowing the situation, knowing the coverage call, and playing within your system. Very, very great stuff here. And then one more play from Johnathan Edwards here. We're going to be in quarters. Again, we're going to be in lock coverage if the guy's releasing to the outside, and that's exactly what the receiver does. Edwards stays on top of the route, stays within the back hip, gets his head around, and as the ball is overthrown, there's just no window right there. I mean, as the ball is coming down, that's what the receiver is looking at. That is just picture-perfect coverage from an outside corner. And there's no space to breathe right there. So I'm not trying to crown Johnathan Edwards for his performance against players like Isaiah Williams and Jermaine Burton, who I think are talented receivers, but they're not starting in the NFL. But this is what the coaching staff of the Colts saw when they decided to keep Johnathan Edwards around. He's 6'1", he's 200 pounds, runs a 4.4, and he is showing that he's coachable and he can play within the system. I love everything about Johnathan Edwards in this game, and I think he's going to be a worthy player to develop this season for the Colts. So very excited about him, excited about the Colts this upcoming season. If you guys are as excited as me, make sure you're liking and subscribing to the video below, and we'll have plenty more film topics coming this season.